This episode of Critters and Cultures is brought to you by Maddie's Fund, a family foundation that believes in a world where every pet has a loving home and every family has the support they need to stay together. Inspired by a beloved miniature schnauzer named Maddie, the fund is transforming animal welfare through innovation, education, and equity. Whether it's funding groundbreaking foster programs, supporting community collaboration grants, or offering free online learning for animal care professionals, Maddie's Fund is investing in the people and ideas that move us forward. They also believe that inclusion matters because real change happens when we uplift every voice in this work. Learn more, get involved, and start learning today at maddiesfund.org. That's MADDIESFUND.org. Hashtag thanks to Maddie's. So you've seen them treat cats and dogs, goats, and cattle. But Critter Fixers is more than just a TV show or a clinic. With us we have two Black brilliant veterinarians from the South who bring with them the legacy of Tuskegee University, the responsibility of visibility, and the cultural connection and understanding of how animals shape our lives. Dr. Hodges and Dr. Ferguson, thank you so much for being on the Critters and Cultures podcast today.
Thanks for having me. Super excited.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we are so excited to finally have this moment to get this interview done. So you guys know about the Critters and Cultures podcast. We explore the connections between animals and cultural diversity. We talk to people from all over the world, and here we are in the South. Okay, here we are in Georgia, the Deep South. Before we started, I had to kind of do some background information and kind of do a little research on who you guys were. I know you guys on the TV show. I know you guys are graduates of Tuskegee, but I had to do a little bit of information, and guess where I started?
Where?
I started with ChatGPT.
Okay.
That's interesting.
I started with
That's very
ChatGPT.
interesting.
That's right.
I've never chatted.
You've never ChatGPT'd yourself.
Oh, no.
I'm
afraid of what it may say.
I have never chat GPT, but it's funny. I asked somebody this weekend, like, what app should I do chat? That shows how old in country we really are. I've never done chat.
Okay, but you're familiar with AI.
I am very familiar with it.
You guys are familiar with
We
AI.
are very familiar.
Okay, so let me tell you what
Please
AI
tell me.
said about you guys.
Please.
Okay.
And then you'll let me know
Okay.
what happens here. Okay, so Dr. Hodges.
Yes.
ChatGPT, who I like to call Chat,
Yes.
says that you're energetic,
Okay.
the jokester,
Okay.
you're expressive, and you're animated.
All correct.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
Dr. Ferguson,
Check.
and this is literally
That's a check. That's a check for him.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Dr. Ferguson, it says you are calmer,
Okay.
you're more reserved, you're the most thoughtful, and you're the wise calm. Now, how did AI do? Or is it a
I
reach?
think it did pretty good. I think it did pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great start.
It sounds like a good balance that you
Yeah.
guys have going on here, right?
Sure.
You guys
Yeah.
balance each other out in the
Yes,
clinic in
for
this
sure.
way.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Okay, well that's good. I'm glad Chat was right. Where did you guys meet? Tell me about
So, we
this. Yeah.
So we always say we met under a bridge. Like homeless guys.
Yeah. You're
But
right.
no, seriously, we met at Fort Valley as we were undergraduate students at Fort Valley State College at the time, and we were in a limnology class. My professor, who I was a fisheries biology major, my good friend was a veterinary technician major. So we took this class together, and we would go out and get water samples under the bridge and make them count. So we met 30 years ago, and never one. ChatGPT doesn't know this. We've never had one single argument in 30 years of friendship.
Wow. And so this is fishing biology?
Fisheries biology, yes. I am a
Fisheries
fish biologist. Yes.
Okay, so this is when I see on your social media, you guys are doing things with
Fish,
fish
yes.
and all of that.
That-
You're carrying all of that knowledge with
That
you.
is what
You
I'm-
never let
yes,
it go.
Never let it go.
Is that what your major was in?
That was I'm a fish biology major, so I'm a fish biologist by my undergraduate degree.
Wow. What
Yes.
about you, Doc?
Yeah, I was on veterinary technology, so I came into school wanting to become a veterinarian, or hoping to become a veterinarian.
Okay.
So veterinary science is my undergrad degree.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So both of you guys were into animals.
Yes.
Fish,
Fish.
which is unique, veterinary science, which
Yeah.
it was probably unique at the time that
Yeah.
you started this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So all animals, dogs, cats, horses, I was kind of interested in all of them. But, growing up here in the South and seeing that example, it wasn't there, right? So you still always feel like you want to become, but you're not sure if you can become.
Let's lean into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So growing up in the South, not having that example, what do you mean by that? Tell me more.
Yeah, so just kind of give a backstory. I've wanted to become a veterinarian since I was 8 years old, and I had a dog that was hit by a car, kind of doctored or worked on this dog, and kind of lit a fire in me that I wanted to help animals. And you know, my mother saying that, you know, it's called a veterinarian and telling me what it is, and from there, you know, trying to go to different veterinary hospitals and talk to veterinarians and trying to shadow veterinarians. You know, when the doors were closed, they were not open for me. And by the time I attended Fort Valley State University, the fire was there, but it wasn't burning as bright anymore, right? Because I hadn't seen, there was no Google. We had encyclopedias. I couldn't open an encyclopedia and see someone look like me doing what I wanted to do to kind of keep me energized. And it wasn't until I was a junior in undergrad at Fort Valley State University that I saw or met the first black veterinarian. And that person became my mentor. Actually, both of our mentors in veterinary medicine, and that's the first person that we worked for. And it wasn't until then that fire was reignited that I continued this trek, because I was almost switching to become like I said, a biologist. You know, I was going to get a master's in fisheries biology, wildlife biologist, and kind of do that and still be associated with animals because I love them, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until I met the mentor, Dr. Corker, that kind of reinvigorated me, lit that fire, and which is why it's so important that Dr. Hodges and I get out today and let kids and people see who we are, what we look like, and you can do.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because you guys are doing amazing things with kids, right?
Yeah.
But it does go to show that sometimes that fire, it's so important, it can be dimmed if you don't have someone that looks like you, that can inspire you, that can speak your language, your accent, whatever it is, that can tell you, yes, this is something that you absolutely can achieve, and why representation is so important. Dr. Hodges, same kind of question. Like, tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was, you know, growing up in the South? I'm a New Yorker, right? So I grew up in the concrete jungle.
Sure.
I did not see cattle and farmlands and all of that until I got to Tuskegee. We all are graduates of Tuskegee University. But for me, and I'm also a veterinarian, for me, I started off in biology as well, thinking I was going to be a human doctor. Because I wanted to treat, right? I had this healing power, this love for science, this love for math, and always had the love for animals, but never had anyone connect the two for me, right? And so for me in New York, I was always bringing in cats from the street and stray cats in our apartment and things like that. But when I got to Tuskegee, I was like, wow, there's cattle, there's goats, like how cool is this? I learned from my roommate, who was an animal science major, about how she pregnancy tested a cow. And she stuck her whole, you know, she explained the whole thing, arm deep, you know, into the rectum of a cow, and I switched my major that next week. I was like, whatever it was about that, it was like a very telling moment for me. What about your upbringing, your childhood?
Grew up in rural Georgia. People, like we kind of were discussing earlier, people always say, when we go different places, are you from Atlanta? Because you think Atlanta, you think Georgia.
Right.
We're from the rest of Georgia.
The rest of it.
That's right.
Selena's only lived
so, and then the rest of Georgia. But so I grew up about 15 minutes from here in rural Peach County, Georgia. And we are
That's
known
real
for
southern, Peach County.
We're known for our peaches.
Okay.
So I worked in those peaches. So I know in New York, you probably never went and picked peaches off the trees too much there, or those kind. So grew up picking peaches and going around. We saw farm animals. There was a creek, the Flint River, not too far from my house, so I'd go down to get turtles and all kind of aquatic life. So I thought I was going to be the Black Jacques Cousteau. I thought I was going to go in the deepest, darkest voyages of the sea and do fishery and all those kind of things. So that's why I majored initially in fisheries biology, and then I realized I loved all animals. You know, I applied to vet school, and of course Tuskegee. You know, I went to Tuskegee, and you know, today I'm able to treat all kinds of stuff. You know, I did a moray eel, you know, fish surgeries, all kinds of stuff, you know, camels, it doesn't matter. So we treat them all.
Oh my goodness. And that's what your logo is, right? Critter Fixers, we treat them all.
Right.
Okay, are you guys afraid of any animals?
We respect them.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe not afraid, but definitely respect.
Definitely respect.
Who is the most respected? What animal is the most respected? And what does that mean, respect? Are we talking about we just approach cautiously?
Very cautiously.
Yes.
Okay.
Make sure we understand how to restrain.
Yes.
Make sure the animal doesn't hurt themselves and we don't get hurt as well, right? Or anyone that's helping. So, I don't know, probably some of the reptiles, probably some of the...
I think the cobra.
The venomous snakes.
Cobra come in here. the way we treat cobras or black mambas, we have those in here, is we get them in a tube. Like if you can get their head in a tube, you can control the rest of their body and treat those different things. So you have to kind of be wary of them. I had a lemur in here the other day, and you have to watch those guys. They kind of move around the room pretty good and like to grab appendages, your ear or whatever. So you have to be careful of those.
So no fear, but respect.
Definitely
Correct,
respect.
yes.
Okay, kind of like a crocodile hunter. You guys would go out and deal with anyone.
We have treated alligators as well.
Oh
So
my
we've
goodness.
done-
Okay, we gotta find some footage and enter it here.
Yes.
Right? That is so neat. Okay, so you mentioned rural Georgia, right? We're out here in rural Georgia, and there's a big conversation in veterinary medicine right now around access to veterinary care, right? We see that Western medicine is getting more and more advanced every time we turn, right? We have dogs that have crowns on their teeth. We're doing CAT scans. We're doing laparoscopic spades, lots of advanced surgeries.
For sure.
How do you guys balance being in a rural community, providing access to care, and kind of providing that full spectrum of care? Do you feel like the medicine that you practice is different? Do you guys have any?
I often say this in our lifetime, and I hate to tell our age, but we've probably been practicing 25, 26 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's simple things, right? I can think about, we never talked about dogs with cognitive dysfunction because we couldn't keep them alive for their brain to catch up, right? So now I'm having these daily conversations about dogs being senile and have cognitive dysfunction because we're able to keep them alive longer, We got a little earlier than you from vet school, but the lab that had hip dysplasia, we didn't have any medicines for them when we first came out. Remedial came out, maybe we used to, what I'm saying? And that's been some progression. So, and I try to teach, we try to teach our young daughters. We try to have a plan, a good, better, best. We have the technology, we have the ultrasounds, we have the echocardiogram, we have the different things. And yes, we can treat some heart.
Anesthesia for fish.
Yeah, we have anesthesia for fish.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if people can't afford it or they don't have the access, we got to figure out. So that's why, we try to tell our plans. I tell my younger daughters, like, look, we were fixing this stuff way before we had all this other stuff. So sometimes you just got to use your brain, that stethoscope around your neck, and your hands to make sure that everybody can, have access. Because it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you love your pet, you love your pet. Right. And we want to make sure that your pet leaves out of here, you're happy, and this pet is healthy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think, one thing I always reflect back to Tuskegee, right? And I think one of the beauties of Tuskegee is that it taught us not to necessarily be dependent upon machines and different kind of all these out there diagnostic tools, but we depend on the best diagnostic tool, which is in between here, right? So if you do get that, like you said, we got an A, B, and a C. Even if we're at level C, that's still great, right? Because we're diagnosing, we're trying to see what it is, and we're treating that animal. We may not get a CT scan, but we may have a good understanding of what's going on, right? So, we have different levels because the ultimate thing is we're veterinarians, right? We're to take care of these animals. It's not for us just to come in and run a whole lot of tests and still not know what's going on and not be able to treat. So we have ways that we do it, and one of the things too is that we've practiced so long now that even client education has gotten better, right? And that helps you also when it comes time to have them do maybe this diagnostic or this diagnostic. And if you go outside and you look at the truck Hodges drove up in, it's got a whole big box on the back, right? So sometimes we have to go out and take care of these animals. We've been practicing long enough now. We got older clients, right? So some can't get in, and we may have to go to their homes and take care of them. And being in a rural area, one of the advantages is that almost every client that comes in the door is part of our family. So I think that's a little different probably than practicing in the city. If the relationship that we have with our clients, we know their kids, and now their kids are grown and they're clients and they have animals, and we've gone to Little League games and we've gone to high school games and we sponsored this team and that team, and so it's a community that we have here. And when they come in, and sometimes they come in and nothing wrong with the animal, they just want to come in and get a hug and see how we doing, make appointments, sit in the room and we talk. So those are the times that it is beautiful moments that we have, and hopefully we can reflect back on those a long time, making memories.
I love that, and that's a huge part of building trust,
Yes.
right? That's a huge part of building trust and having clients that are going to follow your recommendations. That's a huge problem for a lot of young vets, right?
Yes.
They won't do my treatment plan. They don't do what I say.
Yeah.
They don't trust you because there's a disconnect there,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Sure.
And you said something so important. I mean, I think it's a great time to highlight Tuskegee right now. That is a school that we all graduated from vet school from, right? So we're a part of that Tuskegee legacy, and Tuskegee was also in a rural community.
Yes.
And we were family at Tuskegee.
Wow.
So even if I never knew you, if I know that you went to Tuskegee, you're a part of that Tuskegee
part of the
family,
family.
right? And we support each other. So another question about being in a rural community
For sure.
is potentially facing racism,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Or discrimination.
For sure.
Have you guys had experiences with that, whether that's from your clients or the community,
Sure.
especially as you started establishing the practice?
Yeah,
What did that look like?
Right, for sure. I mean, as you know, it's easy to look at us now and say, okay, these guys are here, but you know, we grew up here in the rural South, and we opened a business, not a business here in the South. I mean, that's one of the only black businesses here. So, you know, oftentimes, you know, my prom was segregated. So I had a black prom and a white prom.
Stop, hold on.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Okay. I graduated in 1988.
Okay.
And we went to school together. However, there was a black prom and a white prom at Peach County High School. So you had these things where were you good enough for the inferior thing, and you know these same kids you went to school with, you know, the white teachers kind of sponsored and kind of did theirs, and the black teachers did ours. So these are things you know growing up in the rural side. I experienced them. You know, I think maybe my school had integrated prom, and it was a big thing, maybe like '94. So yeah. So these are things that you know to look at. You know, you've been talking. They still had the colored signs.
Yeah. So you know, I was growing up, and you know, I spoke earlier about wanting to become a veterinarian, and you know, the veterinarians they were not in my county, but the closest ones. You know, they wouldn't allow me to come in the shadow, right? And that was kind of hurtful, you know, because animals don't know color, right? I can remember the stores that, you know, we had to go in then, you know, and I always tell this story that I wasn't even sure, the understanding that I was going in this part of the restaurant with my dad or my mom because that's where our friends went in, right? Now looking back, you know, we go in, you kind of going through the kitchen area. We never went through the front area. And it didn't dawn on me later, but that was the only side we could go in. There was a black side to enter in. There was a white side. Just like when my physician, you know, we had two doors to go in. The black people went in one door, had a waiting room, and the whites went in another door. Now I'm older, but I'm not that old. You wouldn't think it would be at that point, but it was.
But this is beyond segregation.
Yes.
Yes.
So
this is beyond integration.
This is our lives. This is how we grew up. These are as high school men growing up in rural South. These were the adversities and the things of wondering if you're good enough, or wondering, you know, maybe I got to look out here, or these are the things that we grew up with as men.
Yeah. So you can imagine, like opening a practice, you know, in Georgia.
Bold move.
Yes.
Very much. And the thing, we knew that we had the skills to be able to do it. We just was hoping that we were going to be given the opportunity to be able to do it. And I can remember one instance that I had. So we started out in a very small building, 800 square foot. It wasn't much bigger than this room right here. And it was the front door you could see straight down the hall to the back door. So in the reception area, you know, I could see where someone who came in, they were sitting in a chair by the door, so I could see them as I walked across the hall. So when I finished with a client, I got ready for the next client, they were not there anymore as the receptionist. What happened is, you know, we weren't open that long at that time, and I think they looked down the hall, well, I know they did because they told the reception, and they found there was a black veterinarian, you know, and they decided that that's not who they wanted to see that day.
Right.
So it's one of those things where you have to kind of continue to move forward. Does it hurt some? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't learn this word till a few years ago, this imposter syndrome.
Right.
You know, those things can kind of rear its head, and you, like Hodges said earlier, you feel like, am I good enough?
Right.
So you have to have someone to tell you, yeah, you are. So that's the beauty, I think, of our relationship.
Is that what it is? That's
we
what I was
have
gonna
each
ask.
other
Right.
to continue
Sure.
to keep each other here and not let someone knock us down here.
So let's go back to starting the business, though.
Yes.
So-
What were
Right.
some of the challenges in getting it going? What, because you
Well,
guys
obviously,
even-
one of the biggest things was money, to be honest,
yeah,
right?
so are we
So
going
we
to the
had,
bank, crossing
Yeah.
our fingers, hoping the bank gives us money?
yeah,
Yes.
but we couldn't even get that part because at the time they would have like these magazines that I think VetAcon before everything became a computer. You would get magazine and you could order equipment and order this kind of
Okay,
stuff. So
catalog.
Yeah.
catalog, right? So we tried to order this whole package,
Mhm.
and of course we didn't have no credit, no money, anything. So we were turned down.
How many years out of school are we talking about here?
2 years,
2 years.
1 year.
Yeah, 2 years and 1 year.
Yeah.
Because you got to think, right? We were joking about Atlanta. The only jobs really, these guys weren't no hires. So we could go to Atlanta and get a job.
Yeah.
But we want to stay home. We're going to establish something here. We're going to give it every shot we have to make an establishment here in our backyard. We're not going to the city. We're going to stay right here and establish something. So we didn't have the funds. We applied, and of course, our credit, money, that was a no. And I can remember driving home. I think I was going to visit my mom, and we passed the bar. I was like, man, it's a shop, a paint store that closed. I called him. I remember talking to him. I was like, all right, and was like, let's try it. And it was 800 square feet, and that's what we did. We built this clinic. When we say we built it, we went and got lumber from Home Depot.
Yeah.
We built
Partition walls.
We
with
built
exam
our
tables.
exam tables. We built wood exam, and then we had the laminate on top that we built out. And we had an amazing X-ray machine we went and got from Alabama from World War II.
But it worked.
It worked.
Yeah, that's right.
It didn't work?
It worked. It didn't work.
Yeah.
It was literally World War II.
Dip tanks and the
But
whole-
I mean, there were challenges. I mean, you
Yeah.
definitely challenges. I mean, we were wondering if we'd keep the lights on. How this would work. Again, most of our clientele at that time probably was not black, because as we've seen the progression, our clientele has definitely shifted. Maybe we 40, 60,
Yeah, 60,
black?
40, yeah.
60.
Something like
But at the time, most of our clientele was white, so we had to prove ourselves. And it was very interesting. The white ladies seemed to at least give you a chance, right? They would at least say, okay, a little help, but they would give you a chance. Some of the white guys, they ain't never seen a veterinarian, heard of a black veterinarian.
And then you have that man-on-man thing.
And you have a
going on.
man-on-man thing,
Yes.
and you're in a 6x6 room, and you got to figure it out, right? And they got to trust you to figure it out. So you got to find those things that are common denominators. For me, because ultimately I had to prove that I was good at what I do, and they had to trust me to give me a chance.
Let me ask you real quick,
Yes.
just to I don't want to lose
Yes.
this.
Yes.
Do you feel like you have to prove to black communities as well, or do you have to try harder to prove to white communities? And we know that the world is bigger than
Right.
just black and white.
I think now it's probably both. I think at this point, it's, I think.
We're not still proving though.
Yeah, you definitely got to prove yourself to everybody, right? You still got to prove yourself. Even though we are in 73 countries on television, you still got to prove yourself. Because ultimately, the love of animals is what brought this person in.
Yeah.
So we got to prove that we can make this animal better. I mean, maybe not
Do you feel
tomorrow.
that way too? I'll say that
Well-
because I have similar feelings, right?
Right.
When I walk into an exam room, immediately I do feel this level of, I think earlier on,
Right.
I did feel like I had to prove myself, right?
Right.
So I'm working extra hard,
Right.
I'm trying, and now it's just, I know that I can.
Yeah.
Do you want to trust me to do this?
Yeah.
I'm not putting in as much energy as I was before. I don't know what shifted. Maybe it's just my time in veterinary medicine now and knowing my abilities. Like, you guys know your abilities.
Yeah,
so
but I think
don't know if
it's
still
a different level when he says, or we say we have to make sure they trust us. It's like now
Yeah.
you're the critter fixers,
Right.
and you can do anything.
Right.
For example,
Right.
right. I had a lady call the clinic from New York City that had watched the show and seen it, do a ACL surgery. She wanted to put her dog on a plane, fly the dog to Atlanta, us to pick the dog up, me to do surgery, put him back on the plane and send him back there. So I had to let her know there are thousands of veterinarians between New York and Georgia that can do the same thing. So with that being said is our level of what we do and who we are has increased.
Right.
So that's what I think we mean by we have to let them know that some of that is who we are. Because some people like, is that just on TV or can y'all really do it?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's not the level that can we do veterinary medicine. It's just to assure them that we are
what we say
what
we are, or what TV is portraying that we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, you guys are very visible now, right? You guys, Critter Fixers is a household name.
Yes.
What do you wish that people knew about you that they may not know about you based on the show?
That we're just a bunch of goof off kids that we like to have fun, and that fixing animals is our job. That's our superpower. But you know, sometimes we are Clark Kent. We just like just sit around, play cards, have a good time. This fella like the barbecue,
comes off, huh?
and that's
he likes the barbecue.
Yeah, he's a barbecue.
Okay.
You know. Sometimes I'm like, bro, can you barbecue me some chicken?
Yeah.
Do you cook for him?
Well, you know, I'll throw a little something on when I'm cooking. I know he's like, so what he'll do is he may not come out and say, man, can you cook some chicken? He'll be like, what you doing this weekend? And he'll get to, you gotta cook something this weekend while you're there. So, and I'll be like, well, you want some put the chicken on?
Okay.
Chicken, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, but you know, we just kind of know each other, been together forever, right?
Oh,
a lot of people
gosh.
say we're together more than even, you know, when my wife and I are together, you know, like we're married at the hip, you know,
Right.
rather than that. But yeah, so yeah, you know, we like to do other things. I'm a little more reserved, I think, than people probably think I am.
More reserved than people think you
Yeah,
are?
probably
Okay.
so. You know, if I'm home in the garage, working on a car, cooking, I'm good by myself.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think I'm a little more reserved than people really think.
So I'm gonna go back to code switching
Okay.
because we haven't chatted on that, right?
Okay.
As Black men from the South, you guys are navigating everything from exam rooms to boardrooms
For sure.
to TV to camera. Do you ever feel like you have to code switch to be accepted in this profession and maybe in the rooms that you're in? And at what cost?
You know, yes, there definitely is a cost, but you know, we've been veterinarians for 25, 26 years, and I've actually kind of said this to some corporate American. We can go into the corporations and with the corporate, like you said, we're in these corporate rooms. We're talking to presidents of some of the biggest corporations in the world. They want our service, they want our face, they want to see our smile. But when we walk into some of the largest veterinary conferences in the country, and you walk in a room, and there are a few seats, and there are 500 people in the room, and nobody looks like you, and you walk in this room, and people look at you like, don't sit by me or don't experience it. I experienced that 20 years ago, and I experienced that to this day. So that gives you that feeling of do I belong or what? Definitely now. We definitely, you know, but the beauty of it is we have each other, and a lot of times we're at conferences together, but you walk in these things with confidence. You know, that's what I tell people all the time, like, I am who I am. You know, I wouldn't say I code switch quite much. Maybe I clean up, maybe I dress up the overalls a little bit more. That was clean overall. You know what I'm saying? Because I am who I am, right? I just am who I am. And
You country.
I'm country. And at this point, most opportunities and most people, they sought me out. I didn't go to them. They want us in their corporate places. They're flying us to these places because they want us and what we can bring to the table. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at now.
For me, I had to learn, and I had to learn from him, right? So when I came out of veterinary school, I did perceive the look, the vernacular, how I thought that I had to be, or who I had to become, meaning white coats, shirt and tie, very, you know, pristine. And initially that's what I was, right? And that's who I was. And
Why are you laughing?
no, because he know where I'm going with it, right?
Because I'm his business partner for 30 years, and I know.
So But then just the daily observation, right? That you can just be whoever you want to be. It's like, who else works with a veterinarian that has a mohawk? Now, come out of
And it's
veterinarian.
not an even mohawk either.
Not even right.
The
Got a little
mohawk
tip to
is
it.
clean.
You know, meaning
Yeah.
you can be who you are and still be respected and successful, right?
Yeah.
So I had to learn that I didn't have to succumb to what they perceived I should look like. I can just be who I want to be, talk how I want to talk, be the person that I am, and I can still be perceived as a smart black young man that's a veterinarian, that's important, understands what he does, and he's successful.
I like that. So let's get into that, because you
Yeah.
guys are also mentors, right?
Right.
There's a program that you guys run all over the country, Vet for a Day,
Therefore, that.
right? And it's not for any particular group of kids,
Right.
You guys are exposing
Yeah.
children.
Yes.
What
Yes.
ages are we talking about?
Yeah.
Usually what,
High school,
middle school,
high school,
middle
yeah.
school,
Yeah.
high school to veterinary medicine. So
Yes.
they're getting that exposure. Would you? But
Mhm.
for those that are young black males,
Yes.
they're looking at you differently
Oh,
than everybody else,
100%.
right? Do you lean into the young black males any different? And about just being yourself, do you have that same type of advice for the young black males as they're coming up into the profession or wanting to get access into the profession?
So, obviously, the more exposure you have, the more people want their kid to be you. Grandma say, okay, my baby loves animals, or aunt or mom or dad. And they're like, and if you were the only two they see, especially, people who are black, they're like, I want my kid to be you. How can my kid be you? And we were getting so many emails, texts.
Wow.
So we kind of chatted and we're like, man, why don't we just get everybody here one time? So we decided to do the first Vet for a Day here. We didn't know what it was going to be like. We just knew we was going to get some kids, teach them, show them, educate them. My good buddy here was like, let's make sure we get an education program. I wanted to have fun, but it meshed, and we had so many people apply. And then here comes, a corporation said, hey, can you do this across the country? I'm like, sure we can. I had no idea we could. But that's the beauty of Tuskegee, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Reached out to Blue and text. I said, hey man, I need your clinic on a Saturday. I said, I've got a bunch of kids. He's like, sure. He reached out to one of his mentors in Vegas. The kid, somebody who he mentored in Vegas. So we had a place in Vegas. And so we were, initially we started out with different clinics. And, our friends, I skied, they like, look, we lean it, we gonna help you. And that's kind of how the program got started nationwide. That now is at the vet schools, and we're doing the AVMA and those different things. So that was how can we touch as many lives as we can? I think maybe we've touched 4,000 or 5,000 kids at this point.
That's amazing. And speaking to the young black boy mentorship.
Yeah, and I think of course, how to become a veterinarian, those things are important that we talk to them. I think one of the most important things, because I think about me when I was young, is just seeing us walk in the room. Right? And being who we want to be. We're not in that shirt and tie. Yeah. Look, we got t-shirt, we got sneakers on. We're trying to be relatable to those young black kids, right? Especially those boys. Because, now I'm not going to say I'm cool, because my kids tell me that I'm definitely not cool, but at least we can be somewhat close to something that they would want to do, right? And make them feel comfortable knowing that, man, I can be like them. Yeah. They're not just dangling this carrot out in front of me and I can't get to it. I can be just like them. Yeah. So that's one of the most important things is we go and we relate. And you are right. I think those black males are ones that we kind of gravitate to a little more and kind of pull in, because we are kind of far in between, right? Yeah. And we want to make sure, as being two black males, that we do everything we can to try to pick up those kids, especially the black male kids.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Thank you guys for the work that you guys do.
Oh,
thank you.
I brought my son with me today just so he can see y'all.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Sure.
So you guys are inspiring so many kids. And you talked about Tuskegee. That was the point that I wanted to bring up a little bit earlier, is how unique of a vet school Tuskegee is. For those of you that are listening and watching, Tuskegee is the only HBCU, historically black college and university, that actually houses a veterinary school.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And from the beginning, 1944, the school was created, vet school was created specifically for black students, right?
Yes.
Started off with primarily black men. Now it's a big mix.
Right.
But we didn't have all the bells and whistles that
no.
all of the other schools had,
For sure.
right? But once we were done with our program,
Yes.
we were kick-ass veterinarians,
We were ready to go.
Absolutely.
Ready to
we
go.
were
Yeah,
ready
ready
to
to
go.
roll.
And so
Yes.
that taught us so much about how to be well-rounded veterinarians. And Tuskegee graduates about 70% of the black
Yeah.
veterinarians in the
Yeah.
nation,
Yeah.
which is amazing. When I say the word Tuskegee, what memories come to mind?
The pit.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
And as a Tuskegee is
Tell us
as
what
the
is the
pit.
pit?
The
What's
pit
the
is
pit?
where you go in the gross. That makes you or breaks you. That is the gross anatomy room where you come. I was in there the other day. It's like digital. They got all this
What?
stuff. Oh yeah, they got like
It's advanced.
Oh,
It's
fancy.
all
Fancy
it's
now.
fancy now, right? I remember getting my box of bones.
Yeah, yeah.
My dog. So the pit is where we have gross anatomy, and if you are a Tuskegee veterinarian, you know about the pit because that's where you learn the
Right.
basic anatomy of all the animals. So
Yeah.
that's what just comes to my mind.
That comes to mind.
Yeah,
Tuskegee. When I say
Yeah,
Tuskegee.
I think about family, right? I think about the closeness that we all had, not only your classmates, but the entire school and the professors. I remember even after I graduated, I would always call back and be like, Dr. Vig, I got a question for you, or Dr. King, I have a question for you, and they would always be there to answer those questions to help me just to become a better veterinarian. So I think about family and people like, how much you love
Speaking of family,
How much you love
Speaking of family,
Tuskegee?
you got some family there?
That's what I was about to say. How
Okay.
much I love Tuskegee. My daughter's there. She just finished second year, so she's getting ready to enter her third year of veterinary school.
Get
so
outta
hopefully in a couple of
here.
years, yeah, we'll have
Nice.
another veterinarian. But
Oh my
so when I
goodness.
think
That's
about
legacy.
family, it's not only when I was
Oh
there,
my
my
gosh.
daughter's there, and some of the instructors there, and they taking her under their wings and they're giving her a hug. And but yeah, so it's great. Tuskegee is like. That's our spot. We just went back and did commencement for the School of Veterinary
saw.
Medicine, so
Yeah.
that's how much we love it. We're gonna always be there for Tuskegee because they were there for us.
Right.
We talk about, and it's fun. I always think about, and you mentioned it earlier. He spoke about going in that room of 500 people, but when you're at those conferences and you pass someone that looks like you almost 100% to say, what year were you at?
Right. Yeah.
Because you said over 7% of black veterinarians
Yeah.
graduate from one school. Just think about that. And there are over 20, almost 30 other veterinary schools with just a small percentage. So Tuskegee is there, and Tuskegee is definitely needed. If it wasn't a Tuskegee, it wouldn't be me. Maybe it'd be Hodges, but it wouldn't be a Ferguson. So definitely indebted to Tuskegee as well.
Yeah, same. And I'll say, similar to you,
Yeah.
I met my first black veterinarian at Tuskegee.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And I also did not have mentors. I know you guys said you have
Yeah.
a mentor.
Yeah.
My love for animals was just a love for animals.
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily, this could be a profession, right?
Right.
This could
Okay.
be a career.
Right.
But when I got to Tuskegee and I met Dr. King,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
He became my mentor, and all of my professors at Tuskegee
Yeah.
were my family
Yes.
and my mentors.
Yeah.
They didn't let us slide by,
No,
right?
no.
It was tough love
Yeah.
because when you get out there in the real world,
Mhm.
when the rest of the world looks like
Yeah.
that room of 500,
Yeah.
how are you going
Yeah.
to make it,
Right.
And yeah, I think that we're all completely indebted to Tuskegee,
Oh,
yeah,
right?
for sure, for sure.
And just the legacy of
Yes.
Tuskegee,
Yes.
right? Okay, so great. So this has been lots and lots of fun. I think I have some flash questions, okay?
Okay.
Because,
All
you know what? I do want to ask this. Let me just ask this.
Okay.
Yes.
For you, Dr. Hodges. So, Dr. Hodges, why are you laughing? What is it? Does he always do this? Okay, it's all good. So, Dr. Hodges, I read somewhere or heard somewhere that you failed the 9th grade.
I did. Didn't know I'm smart.
You didn't know you were smart.
I didn't know I was smart.
That is so. That moment could have broke you.
Oh, for sure.
How did you build back from that? What did that teach you about risk, about resilience?
Tell me a lot about resilience. I mean, you hit rock bottom. Sometimes you either just gotta stay there or come out. Again, culturally back then, you just don't know. You just don't. As a black man, a black kid. In probably, I think, you Google it, we always the top 1 or 2 poorest cities in Georgia. Is education the key? Is it the key? Is it not the key? What's important is hanging out with these kids who are not probably the best kids to hang out with. Is that the key? You know, you just don't think. And so, you know, fortunately I went to summer school. I was able to pull it together, and you know, became the person I am. But it took me going to probably one of the worst places in my life to come back and make something of myself.
And that taught you so much. And we talked about challenges, right? This was a challenge, and how challenges push you,
for sure,
right? Any moments of failure or
well,
I call them failure,
the
right? We'll put failure. The class president. Straight in there.
No trouble. You know, no. Seriously though, you know, he was speaking about where he came. So the area that I grew up in is a very small rural town in Georgia, which is Talbotton, Georgia. You know, I always tell people, or he always tell people, we have 2 traffic lights and a caution light in my city, and that's it. My graduating class was like 50 kids. So in the entire school, you got a couple hundred kids. So there wasn't. If you had to bet, you probably wouldn't bet a kid would come out of here and become successful at a veterinarian, anything like that. So just those things and coming from an area like that, I think that was my struggle, but that was also my why, right? I wanted to prove to myself and everyone else that I could do it, you know, because, and I think another thing is once you kind of set goals early, people start telling you, you still want to do this, you still want to do that. And I was blessed in my area that people really, really, really always encouraged me. I don't remember anyone telling me of significance, and put it like that, that I couldn't do what I want to do. Now, did they know I was going to be? No. Did my mother know I was going to be a veterinarian? No. Did she know how to help me become a veterinarian? No. Right. But she always said, you can do it,
You can do it.
Yeah. So that was encouraged me. So, you know, there were always times, I think my biggest thing was we're talking about, I'm laughing now because I think it's everybody's kind of hurdle there, was organic chemistry. I remember being in that organic chemistry class.
Tough stuff.
I had applied to veterinary school, and I remember writing a note on my final, telling my instructor, I said, look, I just need to get out of this class. I'm trying to get in veterinary school. I literally wrote a note on there. And that note probably was better than anything else that I had on that organic paper.
Oh, no.
But I was sweating when the report came out, and the grade report. But I passed, and I got in veterinary school. So.
You didn't fail.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't care what the grade was.
Right,
I need to get out of there so I can apply to veterinary school. So that was one of the moments that it could have took a turn there.
Yeah.
Dr. Combs wasn't playing back then. He was not playing back then. So yeah. So it's always, I think, been, you know, somewhat of a struggle for us. Even the television series, right? Even coming down when they film a little bit, is it going to be a show? You know, who wants to see 2 black veterinarians in rural Georgia? We didn't think we had.
We didn't know.
We didn't know, and you know, of course, we were going to be who we were, but we didn't know it would be entertaining for everybody to like. We just like to joke with each other.
You guys do know that you're entertaining, right?
We didn't know at the time.
We've heard because people.
We've heard, but we didn't know.
You guys are a perfect match.
Yeah, but we didn't.
A perfect relationship.
But we didn't know.
Yeah.
We just knew because this is all we've known.
So you said you set goals.
Yeah.
But this was never a goal. TV.
No.
This was never a goal.
Never. No.
The day before.
No.
Y'all never thought about being on television? We would. Both of us would probably laugh.
We would be like, "What are you talking about? Are you crazy?"
What does success look like? Is this what success looks like? Have we reached success, or were we successful prior to this?
I think prior, because we was trying to do. We thought we was here, and we finna fade on off in the sunset, and then we end up working more than we had ever worked before. Yeah.
You know, we've had hundreds of kids come through to go on to be a veterinarian. Critter fix a family tree. That was a success. We can call and be like, hey, and that was our success. You know, I mean, we had, you know, everything we needed, most of what we wanted. We were good. Yeah. TV was not something that, you know, I mean, it just wasn't. I mean, it's amazing to sit here with you. You know, I'm like, you know, that people want to hear us on the podcast. It's like, okay, we can talk about it.
I want to talk to us.
Right. Sure, we'd be happy to talk to you. You know. You know, but we've been in some spaces and met some people and did some things that really caught us off guard. You know?
And I think we both realize, because we talk about this all the time, is that, like you said, we've been blessed so much that the blessings are not necessarily for us, right? Those blessings are to flow through us to others, which is why we do Vet for a Day and we go to different schools and we do different things. But those blessings are to flow through us to others, to just to encourage them to do whatever they may not want to be veterinarians, but know that they can do something.
And that's how people should live their lives mostly,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Be
Right.
a tool, be a vessel to
Yeah.
be a blessing to other
Right.
people.
Yes.
So that's amazing. Anything that I haven't asked that you guys think might be relevant on this podcast around cultural diversity, identity?
I mean,
anything else?
I'm actually shocked now.
Mhm.
I see more black people at conferences. I'm just being honest. We talk about diversity and different things, right?
Mhm.
Which is a good thing, right? It's I am starting to see more kids, and I think, and it's not us, but I'm getting more kids of color who say, I want to be a veterinarian. Seems like that has increased over the years. I don't know why.
So we're doing our job.
We're doing our job.
We're doing our job.
All of us.
right?
We're doing our job. That's
Yeah,
it.
Tuskegee's doing their
Yes.
job.
Yes.
Other universities
Others
right,
are right.
Yes.
have to open up spaces
Right.
because when you put it in front of them and say, Tuskegee can graduate a class of 70 students.
Right.
Yeah,
Why do you not have one black person in your class?
right.
When you put it to them that way,
Sure.
right?
You're right.
So we were speakers at the UC Davis
Yeah.
for their commencement, and they were
This year.
2 years ago?
Oh, okay,
2 years
2 years
ago,
ago.
yeah.
Okay.
Dean Stetter is our
Oh, yeah.
friend,
Yes.
amazing,
Okay.
amazing. And we were watching, and we were shocked that we were in California. I don't think we saw anybody who looked like they were American black,
No.
right? No, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, I don't. We
That
didn't.
graduate,
No,
right?
yeah.
So we watching the whole
Yeah.
class. We looking like, yeah. I mean, maybe. Oh, but he is working hard to change that.
Yeah.
But it's just
Yeah.
these and then going to the Ivy League, going to speak at Cornell, and you see these kids, and so you're starting to see it. I think we make some headway. So that's
Yeah.
a good. That's a good.
And it's funny. I'm sitting here thinking as you say, when you say that, I'm like, well, that's kind of why we were there. But it's funny that, maybe not funny, but that the deans or the people who are in charge have to bring someone there to do something, to be professional, for the other people to see it, to say, okay, yeah, maybe we will let some blacks
Right.
in. That's really is the key, right? But it's a shame that they have to do that they don't have other examples, or just let us in. Give us opportunity.
Yeah.
But the schools,
Yeah.
the best schools, I think, are making progress.
Yeah, I think so.
You know.
The political state of the world right now.
Yes.
Oh boy.
We think we're rolling backwards with this because we're making leeway.
We're making
We're
leeway.
seeing it.
I think it's a gift and a curse. I think, some of the stuff, we won't go deeply into
Yeah.
the bill, but some of the stuff that I see helps me now, right? As a businessman, it helps me.
Mm-hmm.
But probably.
Cut that part. No, I'm
Well,
kidding.
let me cut that out. But no, let me
Cut,
but
cut.
let me finish. Let me finish though.
Go ahead,
Let me
go ahead,
finish.
go ahead.
But it hurts my mom.
Mm.
It hurts my aunt.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, tax. I mean, I have a business. So yeah, maybe it helps. But it hurts my family. It hurts my neighbor. It hurt. It hurt me. I never probably would be where I am. I couldn't afford to go to school if I didn't have certain Pell Grants, if I didn't have these things.
Right.
So those are the things, right? Maybe as a business person you look like, okay, but the state of the world is, we gotta all have empathy for people to get to where we are.
Right.
So those are the things I really have to look at. Like, I mean, maybe you might cut my taxes. I mean, but
It's destroying the people around.
it's
you.
destroying people around. My mom, those are the
And
things.
you're really
that-
close to your mom.
and I'm very close. So, all the things, my mama dress up to go to the doctor. That's all that, right? She gotta have, she gotta go to the doctor. She gotta do all these things. Gotta pay for it. So those things hurt her.
Yeah.
Those things, and they don't help. So that's very important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, same thing here. Even like programs to try to help those that are underserved. Those programs, getting cut or not defunded. Those things hurt, and we have to figure out a way strategically to figure it out, because that can really hurt a generation, right? We talked about exposure as far as veterinary medicine in our Vet for a Day program. There are dozens of programs that are in other professions, other areas that the funding has been cut. So they may miss kids that they normally would have had an opportunity to reach and touch. They don't have what happened to them.
Right.
So it can definitely be lasting impression. We have to figure out a way how to navigate this thing and continue the journey, the voyage that we're on.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, final question, and then I have a flash question actually.
Okay.
What would you want? You guys both have sons, right? What would you want your son to say about your legacy? What, when we all have to leave this world at some point, what do we want them to say about Dad?
I want them to say my dad was a solid person. He told me he loves me at every chance he gets. He would text me out of the blue, and I could look at the text, and I could say, he would just say, I love you, kid. I want him, I would say that I want to be just like me. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, he wants to be a veterinarian. And hopefully I've given him the blueprint to success. That's the one thing. That would be what I would want my legacy to be.
Nice.
I want my son to say, my dad cared about people. And he cared about people probably more than he did himself. He would take his last to help a person or a group of people. And hopefully that reflects upon him, to be, philanthropic for him, for the world, people that are close to him, people that aren't, people that he knows that are deprived and don't have. Because that's kind of who I am, and that's what I want him to understand, and that's what I want him to say about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Almost a tearjerker, you guys. That's really sweet. Okay, so last little thing. This is 2 bonus questions for you guys.
Right.
So this is what the people want to know about you.
What they want to know? What do people want to know?
What
do people want to know?
What they want to know?
About critters,
how to get a job.
Or critter fixers.
They want to know how to get a job.
How to get a job.
How to get a job. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
All right.
We'll start with Dr. Ferguson.
Yes.
People want to know, for whatever reason,
Okay.
do you sing or dance? Do you country line dance?
Okay.
And what is your favorite genre of music?
Okay.
That's like a
Do I sing in the shower, in the car alone?
Okay.
What was the second one?
Do you sing or dance?
Do I dance? Absolutely not.
No country line dancing?
No, I watch and I get 2 things going. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 left feet. My number 1 genre is probably hip hop.
Favorite artist?
I'll give you 2. Let me give you a group, okay?
Okay.
And we're going Dungeon Family. So we're going Outkast, we're going Goody Mob. That's yeah.
Let's stop there.
Okay.
So, no, it's just going back. Outkast was our college thing. So one of the coolest things we talking about now.
Yeah.
And I purposely didn't put him in my phone as Big Boy. So his name is Antoine Patton.
Yeah.
So my phone was sometimes just, he'll call me. He's one of our clients.
Okay.
We both did some orthopedic surgery on his dog, and he'll call us about his other dog. So it's really one of the coolest things is when Big Boy calls Antoine. I purposely try not to fanboy and be like, I said, I'm not putting this man in here as Big Boy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay,
Keep
Mr.
it professional.
Patton. I don't say Mr. Patton, but I call him Big.
Yeah.
But I, when my phone.
What do you call him? You call him Big Boy?
I call him Big Boy.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, I gotta be somewhat professional. I just can't have Big Boy at my phone, right?
Okay, all right. And Dr. Hodges,
yes.
Your question that the people want to know.
What do folks want to know?
They want to know, are you single?
Wow. Yes.
You're single?
I am.
Okay, ladies. You guys heard that?
There you go.
All right, we're single. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us today on the Critters and Cultures podcast.
Yes,
I appreciate you guys being on the show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was fun. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. That was good.
Oh, yeah.
Did I get everything?
I think so.
I think that was a lot of questions, and I think that was good information,
Yeah, great job.
and that was an awesome story.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Cool.
Jazz, how
That
are
was
you
good.
feeling?
Good.
Okay, I love that. Well, thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Yay!
Yep.
For Tuskegee, for the culture.
sure.
For the culture.
Oh yeah. We appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
All right, thank you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Thank you guys so much. That was
Thanks
good.
for having us.